In the dim glow of a moonlit night, when the wind whispers through the trees and the world seems to hold its breath, a figure emerges from the shadows. She moves with a grace that is both unsettling and mesmerizing, her presence commanding the night itself. She is a wild witch, a being of untamed magic, raw and powerful. Her spirit is free, unbound by the laws of men or the constraints of society. Her story is as old as time, woven into the fabric of myth and legend, where she stands as a symbol of nature's fury and its beauty, a force both feared and revered. Wild witches are not your typical spellcasters. They don't live in cozy cottages or follow the rules of covens. They are the ones who dance in the forests, who call upon the spirits of the earth and sky. Their magic is born from the wilderness, from the untamed places where the natural world thrives in its most primal state. They are deeply connected to the elements, fire, water, earth, and air, drawing their power from the same forces that shape the world itself. Theirs is a magic that is as wild as a storm, unpredictable and fierce, capable of both creating life and taking it away. These witches are different from other magical beings, who often adhere to strict codes or serve specific deities. Wild witches answer to no one but themselves. Their power is personal, a reflection of their inner strength and connection to the wild. Unlike the wizards and sorcerers who rely on studied spells and rituals, wild witches use instinct and emotion to guide their magic. They don't need ancient tomes or enchanted artifacts. They need only the wind in their hair, the earth beneath their feet, and the fire in their hearts. The wild witch stands apart from the stereotypical image of the witch who brews potions or casts spells in a quaint, secluded hut. She doesn't just live in the wild, she is the wild. Her spirit is as untamed as the forests and mountains she inhabits. Her power is not learned from books or passed down through generations. It is drawn directly from the earth, from the primal forces of nature that have existed since the dawn of time. This connection to the natural world makes her both a healer and a destroyer, a protector of life and a bringer of death. In every culture where the wild witch appears, she is a figure of awe and mystery. In some stories, she is a guardian of the forest, a benevolent force who protects the land from those who would harm it. In others, she is a harbinger of doom, a vengeful spirit who punishes those who dare to cross her. But whether she is seen as friend or foe, the wild witch is always respected, for her power is undeniable and her will is unbreakable. The cultural significance of wild witches is vast, spanning continents and centuries. In ancient Greece, there was Circe, the enchantress who could turn men into beasts with a single glance. She lived on the remote island of Aiaia, far from the world of men, where her magic thrived in the isolation of nature. Circe's story is one of power and transformation, of a woman who wielded her magic without restraint, unbound by the expectations of society. In the Slavic lands, there is Baba Yaga, the wild witch who lives in a hut that stands on chicken legs, deep within the darkest forest. She is both feared and revered, a figure of immense power who can grant wisdom or unleash terror. Baba Yaga's wildness is reflected in her surroundings. Her home is a place of mystery and danger, where the boundaries between the natural and the supernatural blur. In Celtic mythology, the Morrigan embodies the untamed spirit of the wild witch. She is a goddess of war, death, and fate, often appearing as a crow or raven. The Morrigan's connection to the battlefield and the natural world makes her a figure of immense power and unpredictability. She is not just a participant in the events of the world, she shapes them, bending fate to her will. The wild witch is also present in the folklore of Africa, where she takes on many forms. She might be a healer who uses her knowledge of plants and the natural world to cure illnesses, or she might be a feared figure who curses those who offend her. In these stories, the wild witch is a mediator between the human world and the spirit world, a bridge between the seen and the unseen. What sets wild witches apart is their deep connection to the natural world and their refusal to be tamed by the rules of society. They are often solitary figures, living on the fringes of civilization, where they can practice their magic without interference. This separation from the human world allows them to tap into the raw, untamed power of nature, a power that is both beautiful and terrifying. But this untamed nature also makes wild witches dangerous. They are unpredictable, their motives often inscrutable. They might help a traveler lost in the woods, only to curse the next person who crosses their path. This duality, of being both protector and destroyer, makes them figures of both fear and fascination. In many myths, the Wild Witch is a test, a challenge to those who encounter her. She represents the unknown, the unpredictable forces of nature that humans have always struggled to control. To meet a wild witch is to face the wildness within oneself, to confront the parts of ourselves that are untamed and uncontrollable. And in this confrontation, there is both danger and opportunity, the danger of being consumed by the wild, and the opportunity to learn from it, to grow stronger, more connected to the world around us. The Wild Witch is not just a character in a story, she is a symbol of the wildness that exists within all of us. She is a reminder that there are forces in the world that cannot be tamed, that there is power in embracing the wildness within ourselves. And in the end, the Wild Witch is a reflection of the world itself, beautiful, dangerous, and untamed. In the beginning, before the cities rose and before the laws of man were written, there was the wild. The earth was untamed, with forests that stretched endlessly and rivers that carved their way through the land with relentless force. In these ancient times, there was a magic that flowed as freely as the wind, a magic that was raw, unbound, and as old as the world itself. This was the magic of the wild, the power that coursed through the veins of the earth, through every tree, every stone, every creature that called the untamed wilderness home. It was here, in the heart of this primal world, that the first wild witches were born. Wild magic is not the kind of magic that can be taught or controlled. It cannot be captured in spells or bottled in potions. It is a force of nature, chaotic and powerful, as unpredictable as a lightning strike, as fierce as a roaring fire. This magic existed long before humans learned to harness it, before they tried to tame it with rituals and rules. It was there in the storm that shook the heavens, in the waves that crashed against the shore, in the fire that danced in the heart of the volcano. It was the lifeblood of the earth, and those who could tap into it became more than mere mortals, they became wild witches. These witches didn't need books of spells or sacred rites to wield their power. They were born with it, a gift from the earth itself. They felt the pulse of the world in their bones, the heartbeat of nature in their souls. They were as much a part of the wilderness as the animals that roamed the forests or the birds that soared through the skies. And just like the wild, they were untamed, unpredictable, and fiercely independent. They drew their strength from the elements, earth, air, fire, and water, each one a source of boundless power that could both create and destroy. In the ancient world, wild witches were both revered and feared. They were seen as the embodiment of nature's raw power, the living connection between humanity and the untamed forces of the earth. In times of need, people would seek them out, hoping to gain their favor, to ask for their help in controlling the wild forces that threatened their lives. But these witches were not easily swayed. Their magic was not something to be commanded, it was something to be respected, honored, and, above all, feared. The roots of wild magic stretched back to the dawn of human existence. In the earliest myths and legends, the world was a place of wonder and terror, a place where the boundaries between the natural and the supernatural were blurred. The ancient peoples looked upon the world with awe, seeing in every tree, every mountain, every river, the presence of powerful spirits and gods. They believed that the world was alive with magic, that every corner of the earth was touched by the divine. And in this world, wild witches were the ones who could communicate with these spirits, who could call upon the forces of nature to do their bidding. These witches were often seen as mediators between the human world and the spirit world, between the natural and the supernatural. They were the ones who could bring rain to parched fields, who could calm the raging storm or call forth the fury of the wind. They were the healers, the ones who knew the secrets of the earth, who could use the plants and herbs of the wild to cure sickness or bring about death. But they were also the bringers of curses, the ones who could summon the wrath of the earth upon those who wronged them. In many cultures, wild witches were closely associated with the natural elements. In Greek mythology, the goddesses of the earth, the rivers, and the forests were often depicted as powerful witches, wielding the forces of nature with ease. In Celtic mythology, the Morrigan, the goddess of war and death, was seen as a wild witch who could shapeshift into a crow and control the battlefield with her magic. In Slavic folklore, Baba Yaga was the wild witch of the forest, a fearsome figure who lived in a hut that stood on chicken legs and who commanded the winds and the trees. The connection between nature and wild sorcery is a thread that runs through all of these myths. Wild witches were not just practitioners of magic, they were the very essence of the wild itself. Their power came from their deep bond with the earth, from their ability to tap into the primal forces that shaped the world. They understood the language of the wind, the secrets of the fire, the wisdom of the earth. They knew that the wild was not something to be conquered, but something to be embraced, something that could bring both life and death. In ancient societies, the role of wild witches was both vital and dangerous. They were the ones who could protect the community from the wild forces of nature, who could ensure a bountiful harvest or avert disaster. But they were also the ones who could bring ruin if crossed, who could unleash the fury of the elements with a single word. Their power was respected, but it was also feared. They were seen as both guardians and threats, as beings who existed on the edge of the human world, never fully part of it, but always connected to it in ways that others could never understand. In some cultures, wild witches were honored as wise women, as healers who could use their magic for the good of the community. They were the ones who could ease the pain of childbirth, who could mend broken bones and cure fevers. They were the keepers of ancient knowledge, passed down through generations, knowledge that was born from the earth itself. But in other cultures, wild witches were feared as malevolent beings, as creatures who could bring about sickness and death with their curses. They were often blamed for natural disasters, for failed crops or sudden deaths, and were hunted down and punished by those who feared their power. But no matter how they were viewed, wild witches were always a reminder of the power of the wild, of the forces of nature that could not be tamed or controlled. They were a living connection to the earth, a symbol of the magic that existed beyond the reach of human hands. Their stories have been passed down through the ages, a testament to the enduring power of wild magic and the witches who wielded it. In the heart of every wild witch is a spark of the untamed, a connection to the primal forces that shaped the world. It is this spark that sets them apart, that gives them their power. It is a power that cannot be taught, cannot be learned, it can only be felt deep within the soul. And it is this power that makes them both feared and revered, a force that has existed since the dawn of time and will continue to exist as long as the wild remains. In the stillness of a dark night, when the world was asleep, a woman stood alone. Her name was whispered with fear and awe, Ender, the witch who could reach beyond the veil of death. The story of the Witch of Ender is one of mystery and power, a tale that has echoed through the ages, leaving a mark on the legends of witches that followed. The night was cold, the air thick with the scent of earth and decay. King Saul, tormented by despair, sought the help of this woman, despite knowing the risk. The king, once mighty, now desperate, was willing to break the laws he had sworn to uphold. He was willing to risk everything to speak with the dead. The Witch of Ender was his only hope, the only one who could summon the spirit of the prophet Samuel. She was no ordinary woman, this witch. Her power came not from the rituals of men, but from the depths of her connection to the unseen, to the forces that moved in the shadows. She was feared because she could do what others could not, reach into the abyss and pull forth the spirits that lingered there. When Saul came to her, disguised and trembling, she knew that this was no ordinary request. She could feel the weight of his sorrow, the darkness that clung to him like a shroud. As she prepared to summon Samuel, the air seemed to grow heavier, the silence deeper. There was a moment, just before she began, when time itself seemed to stop. It was as if the world was holding its breath, waiting for what was to come. And then she spoke the words, the ancient words that called the spirit from beyond the grave. In that moment, something shifted. The earth seemed to tremble, and the shadows in the room deepened. And then, from the darkness, Samuel appeared. His spirit, called back from the peace of death, stood before them. The sight of him was enough to bring Saul to his knees. The king, so full of fear and regret, begged Samuel for guidance. But the spirit's words were not of comfort. They were a prophecy of doom, a foretelling of the end that was to come. The Witch of Endor watched as this unfolded, her face a mask of calm. She was not surprised by the spirit's words. She knew the power she wielded, knew the cost of calling upon the dead. But there was no joy in her heart, no triumph. She had done what was asked of her, and now the weight of that act hung heavy in the air. Her story did not end there, though her name would forever be tied to this night. The Witch of Endor became a symbol, a representation of the untamed power that lay just beyond the reach of the ordinary. She was the witch who defied kings, who could command the spirits of the dead. In the eyes of those who feared her, she was a figure of dread, a reminder of the power that lay in the hands of those who walked the path of the wild. But she was also something more. To those who looked beyond the fear, she was a woman of strength, of independence. She was a symbol of the power that comes from within, the power that does not bend to the will of others. In a world where so many were controlled by the rules of men, she stood apart, untamed and unbroken. The story of the Witch of Endor did not fade with time. It lingered in the minds of those who heard it, influencing the tales of witches that would follow. In her, they saw the archetype of the sorceress who could not be controlled, the woman whose power came not from the world of men but from the wild forces of nature and the beyond. She was the inspiration for countless legends, her story shaping the image of the witch in the minds of generations to come. The Witch of Endor became more than just a figure from the Bible. She became a symbol of the fear and fascination that witches inspired. She was the untamed sorceress, the one who stood at the crossroads of life and death, who could reach into the darkness and bring forth the spirits that dwelled there. Her influence can be seen in the tales of witches that followed, and the stories of women who wielded power that could not be explained, power that came from the wild, untamed parts of the world. In her, they found the image of the witch who stood apart, who was both feared and respected, who could command forces that others could only dream of. The Witch of Endor's story is one of power and defiance, of a woman who lived on her own terms in a world that sought to control her. Her legacy lives on in the tales of witches that have been told for centuries, and the stories of women who walk the path of the wild, who draw their strength from the untamed forces of the earth and the beyond. She remains a figure of mystery and power, a reminder of the strength that comes from embracing the wild, the untamed, and the unknown. The waves crashed against the rocky shores of Aiaia, where the island seemed to float between reality and the dream world. It was a place where time stood still, where the air was thick with the scent of herbs and magic, and where Circe, the enchantress, held dominion. She was no ordinary woman, no mere mortal, but a goddess of formidable power, feared and revered by all who knew her name. Circe's eyes were like molten gold, flickering with a light that spoke of ancient wisdom and untamed power. Her presence was magnetic, drawing in those who dared to seek her out, only to find themselves lost in the labyrinth of her will. She lived alone on her island, surrounded by the wildness of nature, lush forests, beasts of all kinds, and the secrets of the earth itself. The island was her sanctuary, a place where she could command the elements, where the wind obeyed her whisper, and the sea bowed to her call. Odysseus and his men arrived at her shores, weary and longing for respite from their endless trials. They were drawn to the island, lured by the promise of warmth and food, unaware of the power that awaited them. Circe welcomed them with open arms, her voice soft and beguiling, her smile a promise of comfort. But beneath that veneer of kindness lay a force that could not be tamed, a power that defied the laws of men. With a flick of her wrist, Circe transformed Odysseus' men into swine. The change was instant, their human forms melting away to reveal the beasts within. They squealed and scrambled, their eyes wide with terror, as they realized the full extent of her power. This was not a simple act of cruelty, but a revelation of the truth that lay beneath their skin. For in Circe's world, nothing was as it seemed, and the line between man and beast was thinner than they could have ever imagined. Odysseus, the cunning hero, was not immune to her charms. But he was protected by the gods, and when he stood before Circe, her magic could not touch him. Instead, they spoke, their words weaving a tapestry of understanding and respect. She saw in him a man unlike the others, a man who could match her wit and her will. And so, she offered him more than just her power, she offered him her wisdom, her knowledge of the world that lay beyond the reach of ordinary men. Circe's island was not just a physical place, but a symbol of the untamed nature that lay within her. It was a reflection of her soul, wild and free, untouched by the constraints of society. She was not bound by the rules that governed others. Her power came from the earth, from the wildness of the natural world. She was the embodiment of feminine strength, a force that could not be contained or controlled. The transformation of Odysseus' men was more than just a display of her magical prowess. It was a statement, a reminder that beneath the veneer of civilization, the wildness of nature still thrived. Circe revealed the truth of their nature, the beasts that lay hidden beneath their human masks. She showed them, and the world, that the power of the wild could not be denied, that it was a force to be reckoned with. Circe herself was a paradox, a goddess who lived apart from the world, yet held the power to shape it. She was both a nurturer and a destroyer, a healer and a sorceress. Her magic was not just a tool, but an extension of her being, a reflection of the wild, untamed spirit that defined her. She was a woman of immense power, yet she chose to live in solitude, away from the prying eyes of men who would seek to control her. In Circe, we see the embodiment of the feminine force, a power that is both creative and destructive. She was not just a witch, but a symbol of the wildness that lies within all of us, the part of our nature that refuses to be tamed. Her story is not just a tale of magic and transformation, but a reminder of the power that comes from embracing the untamed, the wild, and the natural. She remains one of the most enduring figures in mythology, a testament to the strength of the feminine spirit, and a reminder that true power comes not from control, but from harmony with the wildness of the world. Circe's island, with its enchantments and transformations, is a place that lingers in the imagination, a symbol of the untamed forces that shape our lives. And Circe herself, with her golden eyes and unyielding will, stands as a beacon of the power that comes from embracing the wild within. In the dense forests of Slavic folklore, where the trees whisper ancient secrets and the wind carries the scent of forgotten magic, there lives a figure both feared and revered. Baba Yaga, the wild hag of the wilderness, is a name that sends shivers down the spines of those who hear it. She is not just a witch, but something far more complex, an enigma wrapped in layers of mystery, power, and primal fear. Baba Yaga's home is a hut that stands on chicken legs, turning ceaselessly, never staying in one place for too long. The fence around it is made of human bones, a grim reminder of those who have sought her out and never returned. The skulls atop the fence glow with an eerie light, casting long shadows that dance in the night. It is a place that seems alive, a part of the wilderness itself, as wild and unpredictable as the hag who dwells within. To approach Baba Yaga is to step into the unknown, to face the possibility of doom or salvation. She is as likely to help as she is to harm, her mood as changeable as the weather in the deep forest. Her face is lined with the marks of time, her eyes piercing and bright, seeing through the souls of those who come before her. She is old, older than memory, a creature of the earth, as ancient as the trees that surround her. Baba Yaga's connection to the wilderness is undeniable. She is a part of it, a manifestation of its untamed nature. The forest is her domain, and she moves through it with ease, her presence felt even when she is not seen. The animals of the forest, the birds, the wolves, and the bears, all know her and respect her power. She can command them with a glance, bend them to her will, for she is the wild incarnate. But there is more to Baba Yaga than her fearsome reputation. She is a creature of duality, embodying both the destructive and nurturing forces of nature. In one tale, she may devour those who cross her path, her hunger insatiable, her cruelty unmatched. In another, she offers guidance, her wisdom profound, helping those who prove themselves worthy. This duality makes her both terrifying and fascinating, a figure who cannot be easily understood or predicted. In many Slavic tales, Baba Yaga serves as a test, a gatekeeper who challenges heroes to prove their mettle. Those who seek her out often do so out of desperation, knowing that to find her is to face death itself. Yet, for those who are brave, clever, or pure of heart, she can also be a guide, providing the tools or knowledge they need to complete their quest. Her aid, however, is never given freely. It must be earned through hardship, through the willingness to face the darkness she represents. There is a story of a young girl named Vasilisa, whose life was filled with sorrow. After the death of her mother, she was left in the care of a cruel stepmother who treated her as a servant. When Vasilisa was sent into the forest to seek out Baba Yaga, she knew she was being sent to her doom. But armed with a doll her mother had given her, a talisman of love and protection, Vasilisa faced the wild hag with courage. Baba Yaga, seeing the girl's determination, set her a series of impossible tasks, each more difficult than the last. But with the help of her mother's doll, Vasilisa completed them all. In the end, Baba Yaga did not harm her. Instead, she gave Vasilisa the glowing skull, a gift that would later rid her of her wicked stepmother. In this tale, Baba Yaga is both the tester and the savior, her nature complex and layered, her power undeniable. Baba Yaga's role in Slavic folklore is not just that of a witch or a crone. She is a force of nature, embodying the wild, untamed aspects of the world. She is the darkness of the forest at night, the howling of the wind through the trees, the growl of a predator in the shadows. But she is also the wisdom of the earth, the nurturing power of the soil that gives life, the protector of the balance that sustains all living things. To the people of the Slavic lands, Baba Yaga represents the wildness that lies just beyond the edge of the village, the untamed world that exists outside the bounds of civilization. She is a reminder of the power of nature, of the forces that cannot be controlled or tamed. She is a figure of fear, yes, but also of respect, for she is the keeper of the wild, the guardian of the ancient ways. Baba Yaga's stories have been passed down through generations, each telling adding to the layers of her character, each tale revealing another facet of her nature. She is a symbol of the wildness that exists within us all, the part of our soul that longs to break free, to run with the wolves, to dance with the wind. She is a reminder that the wild is not something to be feared or shunned, but something to be understood and respected. In the end, Baba Yaga remains an enigma, a figure who defies easy explanation. She is the wild hag of the forest, the ancient crone who holds the power of life and death in her hands. She is the embodiment of the wild, untamed forces of nature, a force that cannot be controlled, only respected. And in her, we see the power and mystery of the wild, the primal force that lies at the heart of the world, and within us all. When the moon is high and the world is cloaked in darkness, there is one figure who moves silently through the shadows, commanding the forces of magic and the night. Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, is a name whispered in awe and fear, a powerful being whose presence is felt in the darkest corners of the ancient world. She is a goddess unlike any other, wild and untamed, a mistress of the night who holds the secrets of the universe in her grasp. Hecate's origins are shrouded in mystery, much like the night she rules. Born of the Titans Perses and Asteria, she is a child of the stars, her power rooted in the ancient forces of the cosmos. From the very beginning, Hecate was different from the other gods and goddesses. She was not confined to the heavens or the earth, but existed in the liminal spaces between, where the boundaries of reality blur and the unknown reigns. This made her a guardian of crossroads, those places where choices must be made, and where the path ahead is uncertain. Her association with magic was as natural as the night itself. Hecate was the one who understood the deep mysteries of the world, the unseen forces that shaped reality. She was the keeper of knowledge that others feared to seek, the wielder of power that could not be tamed. Her magic was not the kind that was taught or learned, it was innate, a part of her very being, as wild and uncontrollable as the night winds that howled through the ancient forests. In ancient Greece, Hecate was worshipped as a goddess of great power and influence. Her devotees would gather at crossroads under the cover of darkness, leaving offerings to appease her, hoping to gain her favor. Dogs, sacred to Hecate, would howl in the distance, their cries echoing through the night, a sign that the goddess was near. Torches would flicker in the dark, casting eerie shadows as her followers whispered prayers, invoking her name with both reverence and fear. Hecate's wild, untamed aspects made her a goddess of transitions, of beginnings and endings, of birth and death. She was there at the thresholds of life, guiding souls into the world and then back out of it when their time came. Her role as a psychopomp, a guide for the dead, only added to her fearsome reputation. She was often depicted holding two torches, lighting the way for those who traveled through the darkness of the underworld. But Hecate was not a goddess of evil. Her wildness was not malevolent but natural, a force of the world that could not be ignored or controlled. She was the embodiment of the night, the dark side of the moon, the mysteries that lie beyond the light of day. Those who respected her power and approached her with humility were often rewarded with her protection and guidance. But those who sought to misuse her magic or challenge her authority faced her wrath. Over time, Hecate's image evolved, and she became increasingly associated with witchcraft. As Christianity spread across the ancient world, the old gods and goddesses were often demonized, their once revered powers now feared and misunderstood. Hecate, with her connection to magic and the night, became a symbol of witchcraft, a figure who embodied the dark arts and the untamed forces of nature. In the medieval period, Hecate's image shifted once again. She became a patron of witches, her name invoked in spells and rituals, her power sought by those who practiced the old ways. Yet even as her image darkened, she retained her dual nature. She was still a protector, still a guide, still the goddess who walked the boundaries between worlds. Hecate's legacy has endured through the centuries, her image evolving but her essence remaining the same. She is the wild goddess of witchcraft, a being of immense power who defies easy understanding. She is the darkness that balances the light, the mystery that eludes explanation, the force of nature that cannot be tamed. And as long as the night falls and the moon rises, Hecate will continue to hold sway over the magic and the mysteries of the world. In the dim light of dawn, as mist rises from the fields and crows caw in the distance, there is a presence that stirs the soul, a figure who embodies the raw power of life and death. The Morrigan, the Phantom Queen, moves like a shadow across the Celtic landscape, her very name a whisper of doom and destiny. She is not just a goddess, she is a force of nature, wild and untamed, a shapeshifter who commands the battlefield and the hearts of those who know her power. The Morrigan is more than a symbol, she is the embodiment of war, death, and prophecy. Her presence on the battlefield is a harbinger of bloodshed, her voice a prophecy of doom. Warriors trembled at the sight of her, for where she walked, death followed. Yet, there was a strange allure to her, a beauty in her darkness, a seduction in her power. She could appear as a raven, her black wings beating against the stormy skies, or as a young woman with long, flowing hair, her eyes alight with the fire of prophecy. In every form, she was both feared and revered, a goddess whose wild nature could not be controlled or predicted. The Morrigan's connection to war and death was not just about the physical act of battle. She represented the inevitable cycle of life, the constant ebb and flow of existence, where creation and destruction were intertwined. Her influence extended beyond the battlefield, touching every aspect of life, from the growth of crops to the birth of children. She was a goddess of transitions, of the moments between life and death, where the veil between worlds is thin and the future is uncertain. But it was not just her role as a goddess of war that made the Morrigan so powerful. It was her wild, untamed nature that set her apart. She was a shapeshifter, a being who could take on any form she desired, from a raven to a wolf to a beautiful maiden. This ability to change her shape at will made her unpredictable, a goddess who could not be pinned down or defined. She moved through the world as she pleased, defying the expectations of those who sought to understand her. In Celtic mythology, the Morrigan was not a solitary figure. She was part of a trinity of goddesses, each representing different aspects of her power. Together, they embodied the full spectrum of life and death, creation and destruction, love and war. The Morrigan's ability to shift between these roles, to embody all aspects of existence, made her a symbol of the wild, untamed forces of nature. Her influence on the concept of wild witches in Celtic lore is profound. The Morrigan represents the archetype of the wild witch, a figure who is connected to the earth and the natural world, who commands the forces of life and death with a power that is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. She is a reminder that true power lies not in control, but in the acceptance of the wild, untamed aspects of existence. The witches who followed in her footsteps, who called upon her power, were not bound by the rules of society or the expectations of others. They were free, like the Morrigan herself, to move through the world as they pleased, to shape their own destinies with the power of their will. In the ancient tales, the Morrigan is often seen as a figure of doom, a goddess who brings death and destruction wherever she goes. But there is another side to her, a side that is often overlooked. She is also a goddess of life, of the fierce, untamed force that drives all of creation. Her wildness is not just about destruction, it is also about the raw, primal energy that fuels growth and change. In this way, the Morrigan is a symbol of the wild, untamed aspects of life itself, a reminder that true power lies in the acceptance of all that is, both light and dark, life and death, creation and destruction. As the Phantom Queen, the Morrigan's influence can be felt in every corner of Celtic mythology. Her presence is a constant reminder of the power of the wild, of the forces that lie beyond the control of mortals. She is a goddess who cannot be tamed, a force of nature who moves through the world with a power that is both terrifying and beautiful. And in her wildness, there is a freedom, a liberation from the constraints of the ordinary world, a glimpse into the true nature of existence. The Morrigan's legacy lives on in the wild witches of Celtic lore, those who call upon her power to connect with the untamed forces of nature. She is a reminder that true power comes not from control, but from the acceptance of the wild, untamed aspects of life. In her presence, there is a sense of awe, of wonder, of the raw, primal energy that drives all of existence. And as long as there are those who walk the wild paths, who seek to understand the mysteries of life and death, the Morrigan will continue to hold her place as the Phantom Queen, the wild goddess who embodies the true nature of power. In the shadows of ancient lore, where darkness meets light, there is a figure who defies all expectations, a woman who refused to be tamed or silenced. Her name is Lilith, and her story is one of rebellion, power, and transformation. Long before she became known as the Night Demoness, Lilith was the first woman, a being created to stand beside Adam as his equal. But Lilith was not like any other woman. She was fierce, untamed, and unwilling to bow to anyone, not even the man she was destined to live with. The tale of Lilith begins in the Garden of Eden, where she was formed from the same clay as Adam. Equal in every way, she was meant to be his partner. But Lilith's spirit could not be bound by the expectations placed upon her. When Adam tried to assert his dominance, expecting her to be subservient, Lilith refused. She would not lie beneath him, would not be controlled, and would not be diminished. In a world where women were expected to be obedient, Lilith's refusal was seen as an act of defiance, a challenge to the natural order. With a heart full of fire and a will unbreakable, Lilith spoke the sacred name of God and fled the garden, choosing exile over submission. Her flight from Eden marked the beginning of her transformation. No longer just a woman, she became a symbol of wild, untamed feminine power, a force that could not be contained. As she roamed the dark corners of the world, Lilith embraced her new identity, becoming the Night Demoness, feared and revered by those who knew her story. Lilith's transformation into a symbol of wild power was not just about her rejection of subjugation, it was also about the reclaiming of her identity. In the darkness, she found her strength, her voice, and her purpose. She became the protector of women who, like her, refused to be silenced or oppressed. She was the embodiment of the wild, untamed feminine spirit, a force that could not be controlled by any man or god. As the Night Demoness, Lilith's presence was both feared and respected. She was said to haunt the night, a shadowy figure who preyed on the vulnerable. But there was more to Lilith than the stories of terror and darkness. She was a mother, a protector of her own kind, and a symbol of the power that lies within every woman. Her wild nature was not just about destruction, it was also about creation, about the fierce love and loyalty she had for her children and for all those who walked the path of the untamed. Lilith's legacy in mythology is one of both fear and empowerment. She is the dark goddess, the one who defies the expectations of a patriarchal world, the one who claims her own power without apology. In modern witchcraft, Lilith has been embraced as a symbol of feminine strength and independence. She represents the wild, untamed aspects of womanhood, the parts that refuse to be confined by societal norms or expectations. She is the embodiment of the witch, the woman who lives by her own rules, who walks her own path, and who answers to no one but herself. In the eyes of many, Lilith is a cautionary tale, a warning of the dangers of rebellion and the consequences of defying the natural order. But to others, she is a beacon of hope, a reminder that true power lies not in submission, but in the courage to stand up for oneself, to claim one's own identity, and to live life on one's own terms. Lilith's story is one of transformation, from a woman created to be a partner, to a goddess of the night, a symbol of wild, untamed feminine power. Lilith's influence can be seen in the stories of witches and sorceresses throughout history. She is the archetype of the wild witch, the woman who refuses to be tamed, who embraces her power and uses it to carve out her own place in the world. Her legacy lives on in the rituals and practices of modern witchcraft, where she is invoked as a guide and protector, a symbol of the strength and resilience that lies within every woman. In the end, Lilith's story is not just about rebellion or defiance. It is about the journey to self-discovery, the embrace of one's true nature, and the power that comes from living authentically. She is the night demoness, the wild witch, the untamed spirit who walks through the darkness with her head held high, unafraid of what lies ahead. And in her story, there is a lesson for all of us, that true power comes not from domination or control, but from the courage to be oneself, to embrace one's own wild, untamed nature, and to live life fully and freely, no matter the cost. In the dead of night, when the world is silent and the air is thick with an unsettling stillness, a cry echoes through the darkness. It is a sound that chills the bones, a wail filled with such sorrow and despair that it feels like the earth itself is mourning. This is the cry of La Llorona, the weeping witch, whose tragic tale has haunted the rivers and lakes of Latin America for centuries. Her story is one of love lost, of unbearable pain, and of a curse that has turned her into a vengeful spirit, forever bound to the waters where her heart was shattered. La Llorona was once a woman of great beauty, a mother whose heart overflowed with love for her children. But love, as powerful as it can be, can also bring about the greatest suffering. Betrayed by the man she loved, consumed by jealousy and anger, La Llorona did the unthinkable. She drowned her own children in a moment of madness. The instant she realized what she had done, her heart broke, and she was filled with a sorrow so profound that it drove her to wander the earth, searching for her lost children. But death was not an escape for La Llorona. Instead, it was the beginning of an eternal torment. Cursed to roam the rivers and lakes where she committed her unforgivable act, she is forever caught between worlds, a ghostly figure who cries out for the children she lost, her wails filled with an unending grief that no words can describe. Her sorrow is so powerful that it seeps into the very ground she walks upon, turning the waters dark and cold, a reflection of the pain that consumes her. La Llorona is not just a spirit of sorrow, she is also a figure of vengeance. Her grief has twisted into anger, and she lashes out at those who cross her path. It is said that she seeks out children, hoping to replace the ones she lost, and that those who hear her cries are marked for a tragic fate. Her presence is a warning, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked emotions and the terrible consequences of actions driven by despair. But there is something more to La Llorona than her curse. She is a symbol of the untamed spirit of the wild, a force of nature that cannot be controlled or contained. Her story is not just about loss and vengeance, it is also about the wild, primal power of emotions, the way they can drive us to do the unthinkable, and the way they can shape our destinies. La Llorona is the embodiment of the untamed spirit, a figure who lives on the edge of reason, driven by forces that are beyond her control. In Latin American folklore, La Llorona's influence is undeniable. She is a figure who has shaped the way people understand the wild, untamed aspects of the world around them. Her story has been passed down through generations, a cautionary tale that warns of the dangers of losing oneself to emotion. But she is also a figure of power, a reminder that there is strength in the wild, untamed aspects of life, and that even in the darkest moments, there is a force that drives us forward, that refuses to be silenced or subdued. La Llorona's influence extends beyond folklore and into the realm of witchcraft. In some traditions, she is seen as a powerful spirit, a guide for those who walk the path of the witch. Her connection to the wild, untamed forces of nature makes her a figure of respect and fear, a reminder that the power of the witch is not just about control, but also about embracing the wild, unpredictable aspects of life. For those who seek to understand the mysteries of the world, La Llorona is a figure of both caution and inspiration, a reminder that the path of the witch is one that requires a deep understanding of the forces that drive us, both light and dark. In the end, La Llorona's story is one of tragedy, but it is also one of power. She is a figure who has been shaped by her emotions, who has been driven to the edge by her grief and anger, and who has found a way to exist in a world that no longer holds a place for her. Her wails may be filled with sorrow, but they are also a testament to her strength, to her refusal to be silenced or forgotten. La Llorona is the Weeping Witch, a figure who haunts the waters of Latin America, but who also haunts the hearts of those who hear her story, a reminder of the power of the wild, untamed spirit that lives within us all. When winter grips the land with icy fingers and the world is blanketed in snow, there is a force behind the cold that is both feared and revered. This force is the Cailleach, the wild hag of Celtic folklore, whose presence is as formidable as it is mysterious. Her name sends shivers down the spine, evoking images of a relentless winter queen whose power over nature is as fierce as a blizzard. The Cailleach embodies the raw, untamed fury of winter, and her story is one of both awe and trepidation. The Cailleach is not merely a figure of myth, she is the personification of winter itself. With her arrival, the world is transformed into a frosty landscape, each breath of air sharp and biting. She is the one who blankets the earth in snow and ice, her icy touch freezing rivers and making the land hard and unyielding. But her power is not limited to the cold alone, it is also the force of nature's fury. She brings storms that howl and winds that cut like knives, a reminder of the harshness of the natural world. Her presence marks the onset of the coldest months, and her role in the cycle of the seasons is profound. The Cailleach is not a mere spirit of winter, she is the guardian of the seasonal changes, overseeing the transition from the warmth of summer to the chill of winter. When she arrives, the earth falls into her grip, and the land succumbs to her will. Yet, her power is not without purpose. She is also a part of the natural cycle, heralding the end of one season and the beginning of another. As winter wanes, she retreats, giving way to the renewal of spring. Her departure signals the end of the cold and the rebirth of life, as the earth slowly thaws and blooms again. In Celtic and Scottish folklore, the Cailleach holds a place of deep significance. She is often depicted as an old woman, her face withered and stern, her body wrapped in layers of fur and rags to shield herself from the biting cold. Her appearance is a reflection of her nature, a powerful, untamed force that commands both respect and fear. The stories about her are filled with reverence for her power and a recognition of her role in the natural order. She is a reminder that nature is both beautiful and harsh, and that life is a cycle of birth, death, and renewal. The Cailleach's role extends beyond her control over the seasons. She is also a symbol of the untamed aspects of nature and the wild. Her presence in folklore is a testament to the way ancient peoples understood and respected the natural world. They saw in her a force that could not be controlled, a wild spirit whose power was as unpredictable as it was immense. In a time when people lived close to the land and were deeply affected by the changing seasons, the Cailleach represented the primal forces of nature that could bring both destruction and life. Despite her fearsome reputation, the Cailleach is also a figure of wisdom and transformation. Her control over the seasons speaks to her understanding of the natural world and her ability to shape it. In some tales, she is depicted as a creator, using her power to shape the land and influence its growth. Her role as a harbinger of winter is not just about bringing cold and darkness, it is also about preparing the land for the new life that will come with spring. Her presence is a reminder of the interconnectedness of all things, of how destruction and creation are two sides of the same coin. The Cailleach's legacy lives on in the traditions and stories of the Celtic people. Her presence in folklore serves as a powerful reminder of the wild, untamed aspects of nature and the profound respect that ancient cultures had for the forces that shaped their lives. Her story is one of power, transformation, and the natural cycle, a testament to the way people understood and related to the world around them. The Kaleech is not just a figure of myth, she is a symbol of the raw, untamed spirit of nature, a reminder of the beauty and harshness of the world, and a figure whose presence continues to captivate and inspire. In the shadowed woods of Avalon, where the mist clings to the trees and the air is thick with enchantment, lives a figure whose very name sends shivers down the spine, Morgan Le Fay. Her story is one of transformation and power, a tale that weaves through the Arthurian legends like a dark thread, making her one of the most enigmatic and powerful sorceresses ever told. Morgan Le Fay's journey from a noble enchantress to a wild witch of formidable might is as captivating as it is tragic. Once, Morgan Le Fay was known as a healer and a scholar of the magical arts. Her beauty and wisdom were matched only by her talent in the mystical arts. But beneath her graceful exterior lay a heart touched by a profound sense of betrayal and ambition. Her early life was marked by a deep connection to the ancient magics and the hidden knowledge of Avalon. She was not just a practitioner of magic, she was its embodiment, a figure of immense skill and promise. As her story unfolded, Morgan's life took a darker turn. Her ambition and the betrayals she experienced transformed her into a figure of both awe and fear. Her deep-seated anger and frustration twisted her once noble intentions into something far more sinister. The very magic that she once used for healing became a tool of vengeance and power. Morgan Le Fay became a wild witch, her powers unrestrained and her motives often shrouded in mystery. In the Arthurian legends, Morgan Le Fay emerges as a complex and multifaceted character. She is both a sister and an adversary to King Arthur, her relationship with him marked by a deep, almost tragic conflict. Her role in these stories is not merely that of an antagonist, but also a symbol of the untamed and unpredictable nature of magic itself. Her actions, whether driven by jealousy, revenge, or a quest for power, reflect the darker side of the magical world, a world where intentions can be as perilous as the spells cast. Morgan Le Fay's powers are both awe-inspiring and terrifying. She possesses an array of magical abilities that allow her to manipulate events, cast illusions, and even challenge the very fabric of reality. Her magic is wild and untamed, a reflection of her internal turmoil and the immense power she wields. In many tales, she uses her abilities to exact revenge on those she feels have wronged her, showcasing a form of magic that is as unpredictable as it is potent. Despite her fearsome reputation, Morgan Le Fay's legacy is marked by a deep complexity. She is not merely a villain or a sorceress to be feared, she is a character of profound depth and ambiguity. Her motivations are often shrouded in layers of personal grief, betrayal, and longing for something greater than herself. This complexity makes her a fascinating figure, a woman whose actions, however dark, are driven by a human desire for recognition and justice. Morgan Le Fay's transformation into a wild witch is a powerful commentary on the nature of magic and its impact on those who wield it. Her story reflects the broader themes of power, betrayal, and redemption that run through the Arthurian legends. Her role as a wild witch is not just about her abilities, but also about the internal struggle she faces, a struggle that makes her one of the most compelling and tragic figures in the mythos. The legend of Morgan Le Fay endures because it speaks to the darker aspects of human nature and the complexities of power. Her story is a reminder that magic, like all great forces, can be both a source of incredible beauty and profound darkness. Her legacy as a sorceress is a testament to the untamed and enigmatic nature of magic itself, a force that can shape destinies and alter the course of history in ways both wondrous and terrifying. In the heart of Norse mythology, where the lines between fate and nature blur into a tangled weave, there are three powerful figures who shape the very threads of existence. They are the Norns, wild, untamed weavers of destiny who command both awe and trepidation. Their names are Urd, Verdandi, and Skuld, and their presence in the ancient myths speaks to a profound understanding of fate and the forces that govern our lives. The Norns are not just mystical beings, they are the embodiment of the forces that control the fabric of reality. They reside by the great Yggdrasil, the world tree, where they weave the threads of fate for gods and mortals alike. Picture them at their loom, their hands moving with an uncanny grace, twisting and turning the threads of life as if they are manipulating the very essence of existence. Their work is relentless, their patterns intricate and enigmatic. Each thread they weave carries the weight of destiny, binding the past, present, and future into an unbreakable tapestry. Their connection to nature is profound. They are intertwined with the very elements of the world, earth, water, and sky. The Norns draw their power from the ancient forces of the natural world, making their influence as untamed as the wilderness itself. Their domain stretches beyond the human understanding of time and space, reaching into the deepest corners of existence where the laws of nature and fate converge. In their presence, the natural world seems to pulse with life, each moment and event a part of the grand design they oversee. The Norns' ability to shape destiny is a double-edged sword. They are seen as both creators and destroyers, weaving the threads of fate with a power that can be as merciless as it is awe-inspiring. They determine the course of lives, the rise and fall of heroes, and the shifting tides of fortunes. Their influence is inevitable and inescapable, a reminder that no matter how much one may wish to alter their path, the threads of destiny are already set in motion by these formidable weavers. Urd, Verdandi, and Skuld each represent different aspects of time and fate. Urd, the Norn of the past, carries the weight of what has already happened, her threads weaving the history that shapes the present. Verdandi, the Norn of the present, weaves the threads of current events, capturing the flow of time as it happens. Skuld, the Norn of the future, spins the threads of what is yet to come, her work a glimpse into the unknown. Together, they form a triad of fate that influences every aspect of existence, their intertwined threads creating a web of destiny that binds all beings. The Norns' wild and untamed nature has left a lasting mark on later depictions of witches and sorceresses in folklore. Their role as weavers of fate reflects the broader archetype of witches as powerful figures who hold dominion over mystical forces. Their ability to shape destiny with a mere thread of magic speaks to the enduring fascination with the idea of witches possessing control over the fundamental forces of life. In many later myths and stories, witches are depicted as having similar powers to the Norns, able to influence fate and wield magic that bends the world to their will. In Norse mythology, the Norns are both revered and feared, their power a constant reminder of the forces that govern life and death. They are seen as the ultimate arbiters of fate, their weaving of destiny a process that is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Their influence on later traditions reflects the deep-seated belief in the power of fate and the wild, untamed aspects of magic. They are a symbol of the forces that shape our lives, a reminder that no matter how much we strive to control our destiny, there are powers beyond our comprehension that weave the threads of our existence. In the heart of Norse mythology, where the clash of battle echoes through the ages, there exists a group of fierce, untamed warrior women who strike terror into the hearts of their enemies. These are the Valkyries, choosers of the slain, and their story is as powerful as it is haunting. They are not mere specters of death, they are fierce, otherworldly beings whose role in the tapestry of fate and war is both profound and awe-inspiring. The Valkyries ride through the skies on horses with wings like shadows, their presence marked by the clamor of battle and the gleaming of their armor. Their mission is both sacred and terrifying. They choose which warriors will fall and which will rise again. Their selection is not random but guided by an ancient, unyielding sense of destiny. As the blood of warriors spills on the battlefield, the Valkyries sweep down with a purpose, to gather the bravest souls destined for Valhalla. They are the ultimate arbiters of death and valor, their choices shaping the fate of warriors and the outcome of epic battles. Each Valkyrie is a vision of wild beauty and fearsome strength. They are often depicted with flowing hair and fierce eyes, their presence commanding respect and awe. Their appearance reflects their untamed nature, a force of nature as wild and unpredictable as the battles they influence. Clad in armor that seems to shimmer with the essence of the battlefield, they embody the very spirit of war and destiny. Their beauty is a double-edged sword, for it is both mesmerizing and fearsome, a reminder of the power they wield over life and death. The connection between the Valkyries and fate is as intricate as it is profound. They are not merely messengers of death, but the weavers of destiny for those who fall in battle. Their role is to determine the fate of warriors, guiding them to the halls of Valhalla where they will await Ragnarok, the end of the world. The Valkyries' choices are an extension of the cosmic order, their actions intertwined with the threads of fate that dictate the rise and fall of heroes. Their influence over death and destiny makes them central figures in Norse mythology, embodying the wild, unpredictable nature of the cosmos. In their role as choosers of the slain, the Valkyries are both revered and feared. Their presence on the battlefield is a harbinger of death, their choices determining who will live to fight another day and who will meet their end. Yet, they are not to be seen as mere agents of doom. Their role is essential to the cycle of life and death, their actions ensuring that the bravest and most honorable warriors are honored in the afterlife. They are the gatekeepers of Valhalla, a place where the chosen few are given the chance to prepare for the final, apocalyptic battle. The image of the Valkyries has left a lasting impact on the concept of powerful female sorceresses throughout history. Their combination of beauty, strength, and supernatural power has influenced countless depictions of female figures in myth and legend. The Valkyries embody the ideal of the powerful woman who commands respect and wields influence over the forces of life and death. Their role as warrior women who shape destiny through their choices is a powerful archetype, reflecting the enduring fascination with strong, untamed female figures. Their presence in Norse mythology represents a broader cultural reverence for powerful women who defy conventional roles. The Valkyries are not just warriors, they are symbols of the untamed forces of nature and fate, their actions shaping the very course of the world. Their image as fierce, independent, and formidable beings continues to resonate, inspiring stories and legends that celebrate the strength and complexity of powerful female figures. In the end, the Valkyries are more than just mythical beings, they are a testament to the wild, untamed forces that shape our world. Their role as choosers of the slain and their influence over fate and destiny make them central figures in Norse mythology, embodying the raw power and beauty of the supernatural. Their legacy endures as a symbol of the fierce, untamed spirit that resides within us all, a reminder of the power and majesty of the wild forces that govern our lives. In the shadows of ancient Norse legends, where the veil between the mundane and the mystical is as thin as mist over the fjords, there emerges a figure of profound mystery and power, the Volva. These seeresses were not merely women of wisdom, they were wild, enigmatic figures whose abilities and influence spanned the realms of both the natural and the supernatural. The Volva carried an air of otherworldliness, their presence marked by a blend of reverence and fear. Clad in flowing robes, often adorned with symbols of their craft, they were seen as the channel between the earthly realm and the divine. With a staff in hand, believed to be imbued with magical properties, the Volva performed rites and rituals that reached deep into the hidden layers of existence. Their chants, often recited in a trance-like state, were said to summon the spirits of the old gods and reveal glimpses of the future. They had a unique gift, one that allowed them to navigate the unseen currents of fate and time, offering insights that were both profound and unsettling. Their connection to nature was intrinsic and intimate. The Volva drew upon the primal forces of the natural world, intertwining their magic with the elements of earth, water, and sky. Their rituals often took place in sacred groves, near ancient trees, or beside flowing rivers, places where the boundaries between the human and the divine were perceived to be at their thinnest. They were attuned to the cycles of the moon, the changing of the seasons, and the patterns of animal behavior, weaving these natural rhythms into their magical practices. To encounter a Volva in such settings was to witness a harmony between human endeavor and the raw, untamed power of nature. The supernatural realm was their domain as well. The Volva were believed to possess the ability to communicate with spirits, both benevolent and malevolent. Their visions and prophecies were shaped by these encounters, guiding their communities through times of crisis and uncertainty. They could summon the spirits of ancestors, call upon the gods, and even invoke the power of the underworld. Their role was to offer guidance and warnings, their prophecies serving as both a source of comfort and a harbinger of change. In times of upheaval or decision, the Volva's words were sought with a mixture of hope and trepidation. In Norse culture, the Volva held a revered and sometimes feared position. They were seen as custodians of ancient knowledge and wisdom, their role in society deeply entrenched in the spiritual and mystical fabric of their world. Their predictions were taken seriously, their ceremonies marking important rites of passage and communal events. The Volva were integral to the cultural and religious life of their communities, their magic and prophecies shaping the course of lives and the destiny of nations. The tales of the Volva are not just stories of magic and mystery, they are reflections of a time when the lines between the human and the divine were fluid, and the natural world was seen as a living, breathing entity. The Volva's legacy endures as a powerful reminder of the ways in which ancient peoples understood their connection to the world around them. Their role as seeresses and sorceresses encapsulates the spirit of an age where the wild and the mystical were as real as the land and the sky, and where the power of the natural world was harnessed to navigate the mysteries of existence. In the dark corridors of history, where fear and superstition held sway, there were women whose very existence was condemned as witchcraft. Their stories are woven into the grim tapestry of the Inquisition, a time when innocent lives were consumed by an insatiable hunger for control and conformity. These women, often labeled as wild witches, faced a terrifying fate that would forever mark their legacy with sorrow and injustice. Picture a village shrouded in the chill of night, where whispers of magic and the unknown stir the air. In these communities, there were women whose knowledge of herbs, healing, and ancient traditions set them apart. They were the wise women, the healers, the ones who understood the secrets of the land. But their wisdom, once revered, became a weapon in the hands of those who sought to control and suppress. The Inquisition, driven by fear of the unknown and the desire for absolute power, turned its gaze upon them. These women were accused of witchcraft, their lives unraveling in a nightmare of accusations and trials. The process was brutal and relentless. Torture was used to extract confessions from those accused, often leading to false admissions of guilt. These women, already on the fringes of a society that misunderstood and feared them, were subjected to unimaginable horrors. They were stripped of their dignity, their very humanity stripped away by the tools of torture. The fear that gripped these women was palpable, fear of the pain that awaited them and the loss of their lives, all because they were seen as threats to an established order that could not tolerate the wild, untamed aspects of their being. The Inquisition's campaign against these so-called witches was not just a physical assault, it was an assault on their very essence. The image of the wild witch, once a figure of strength and mystery, was twisted into a symbol of evil and chaos. The tales of their supposed dark powers and malevolent intentions were spread far and wide, painting them as agents of the devil rather than the misunderstood healers and wise women they truly were. The wild sorceress, once a figure of awe, became a villain in a story written by those who sought to extinguish the light of knowledge and freedom. Yet, in the midst of this darkness, there was a glimmer of survival. Even as the flames of the Inquisition sought to erase their presence, the myths and stories of these wild witches persisted. They transformed, adapting to the new world shaped by fear and repression. The stories of their bravery, their resistance, and their wisdom lived on, passed down through whispers and legends. Their legacy endured not as a symbol of evil, but as a testament to the strength and resilience of those who were persecuted. These tales were not just about the horrors they faced, they became symbols of a deeper truth. They spoke to the enduring human spirit and the power of stories to preserve the essence of those who were lost. The wild witches, through their trials and tribulations, became legends in their own right, a reminder of the beauty and danger of untamed magic, and the cost of living a life that defied the constraints of a fearful society. Their persecution left scars that would not easily heal, but it also left behind a rich tapestry of stories that continue to captivate and move us. The image of the wild witch, once marred by fear and hatred, has been reclaimed in many ways. These stories remind us of a time when magic and mystery were met with suspicion and cruelty, and they challenge us to remember and honor the lives lost in the quest for understanding and justice. In the heart of Africa, where the land breathes with the rhythm of ancient spirits and the sky is a canvas for endless stories, wild witches hold a place of reverence and mystery. These figures are not just characters from myths, but are woven into the very fabric of life and nature in various African cultures. Their presence is felt deeply, embodying the connection between the mystical and the natural world. Imagine a moonlit night in an African village, where the shadows dance with the whispers of the old ways. Here, wild witches are seen not merely as practitioners of magic but as embodiments of the forces that shape the world. They are revered and feared, their abilities intertwined with the elements and the unseen spirits that dwell within them. In many African cultures, wild witches are believed to harness the raw, untamed power of nature itself. Their magic is unpredictable and profound as the forces of the earth. In the folklore of the Yoruba people, for instance, the concept of magic is deeply entwined with the natural world. The Yoruba people speak of witches who have the ability to transform themselves into animals or control the forces of nature. These witches are known to possess great power, both feared and respected for their ability to influence the world around them. They are seen as intermediaries between the human world and the spiritual realms, their magic drawing from the deep, ancient roots of the earth and the sky. In the Congo Basin, wild witches are often associated with the forest, a place brimming with life and mystery. The forest is seen as a realm of magic and danger, where witches are believed to commune with spirits and harness the energies of the natural world. These witches are depicted as guardians of sacred knowledge, their presence a reminder of the forest's untamed and powerful essence. Their magic is seen as both protective and perilous, reflecting the dual nature of the wild places they inhabit. The San people of southern Africa tell tales of the Kagan, a trickster god who often takes the form of a praying mantis. While not a witch in the traditional sense, Kagan stories are filled with elements of wild magic and transformation. His ability to change shape and influence the world around him mirrors the qualities of wild witches in other African traditions. The stories of Kagan highlight the importance of understanding and respecting the forces of nature, a theme common in the tales of wild witches across Africa. One of the most striking examples of wild witch figures in African mythology comes from the tale of the witch woman in the Zulu tradition. This figure, often depicted as a powerful and enigmatic woman, is believed to possess the ability to control the weather and the natural elements. Her magic is a force of both creation and destruction, reflecting the delicate balance between harmony and chaos in the natural world. The stories of this witch woman emphasize the deep connection between her power and the forces of nature, highlighting the profound impact of wild magic on the world. In the myths of the Akan people of Ghana, the wild witch is often associated with the earth and its hidden energies. These witches are believed to have the ability to tap into the life force of the earth, using their magic to heal or harm. Their role is deeply intertwined with the cycles of nature, their actions reflecting the rhythms of the natural world. The Akan witches are seen as custodians of ancient knowledge, their magic a bridge between the human world and the spiritual realms that lie beneath. Throughout African mythology, wild witches are not just figures of fear and wonder but are deeply connected to the land and the spirits that inhabit it. Their magic is a testament to the power of nature and the complex relationship between humanity and the natural world. They are seen as both protectors and disruptors, their actions a reflection of the delicate balance that governs the world. In their stories, we find a profound respect for the forces of nature and a reminder of the wild, untamed magic that lies at the heart of the world. When the moon hangs heavy in the sky and the wind howls through the darkened forests, whispers of ancient tales stir in the chill of the night. The legend of the Wild Hunt, a spectral procession led by a fearsome figure and attended by phantoms and witches, evokes a sense of dread and wonder that has gripped the imagination for centuries. Picture the Wild Hunt, a storm of shadows and hooves, a ghostly cavalcade racing through the night. The leader of this eerie procession is often a mythical figure, sometimes a god, sometimes a restless soul. As they ride across the sky, their passage brings terror and foreboding. The hunt is a harbinger of chaos, a sweeping force of nature that disrupts the balance between the human world and the supernatural. Those who witness it are said to be marked by misfortune or madness, their lives forever altered by the encounter. In this tempest of the Wild Hunt, witches are not merely spectators but active participants. These untamed sorceresses ride alongside the spectral hunters, their dark powers blending with the eerie glow of the moonlit chase. They are portrayed as wild, unrestrained figures whose magic can conjure storms and summon the spirits of the dead. Their involvement in the Wild Hunt reflects their deep connection with the primal forces of the natural world and the supernatural. Then, there is the Witches' Sabbath, a night when witches gather in secret to practice their dark rites. This gathering is often depicted as a revelry of sorts, a wild, chaotic celebration where sorcery and forbidden knowledge take center stage. Under the cover of darkness, these witches meet in hidden groves or atop remote hills, their rituals a testament to their untamed magic. They perform ceremonies that defy the laws of the mundane world, their actions weaving a tapestry of enchantment and mystery. The Witches' Sabbath is not just a mere gathering but a powerful symbol in European folklore. It represents the rebellion against societal norms and the embrace of the wild and untamed aspects of magic. These gatherings are often portrayed as both thrilling and terrifying, a blend of celebration and menace. The witches, in their unrestrained state, embody the primal forces that exist on the fringes of human understanding, their rituals a manifestation of the raw, untamed magic that flows through the world. The symbolism of the wild hunt and the witches' Sabbath speaks to a deeper truth about the nature of magic and its place in human life. These wild gatherings reflect a fascination with the unknown and the forbidden. They are a reminder of the powerful, uncontrollable forces that lie beyond the boundaries of conventional life. The fear and awe associated with these legends capture the essence of the untamed magic that lies at the heart of folklore, a magic that is both alluring and dangerous, a force that challenges the very fabric of reality. As the night closes in and the echoes of the wild hunt and the witches' Sabbath fade into the mists of legend, their stories remain a haunting reminder of the wild, untamed aspects of magic. These tales evoke a sense of wonder and dread, a reflection of the deep-seated fear and fascination that humanity has long held for the supernatural. The legends of the wild hunt and the witches' Sabbath endure as powerful symbols of the primal magic that stirs beneath the surface of the known world, a testament to the enduring allure of the wild and the mysterious. In today's world, where ancient myths and modern sensibilities collide, the figure of the wild witch has undergone a profound transformation. Once vilified and feared, these untamed sorceresses have emerged from the shadows of history to reclaim their place in contemporary culture. They are no longer just symbols of dread but have become powerful icons of empowerment and self-discovery. Imagine a screen aglow with the flickering light of a witch's spell. In movies, TV shows, and books, wild witches are no longer the sinister figures of old but are portrayed with nuance and depth. They are complex characters who harness their magic with intention and purpose. These modern interpretations often blend the ancient with the new, creating witches who are both rooted in historical lore and infused with contemporary relevance. From fierce heroines to wise mentors, these portrayals reflect a growing appreciation for the rich, multifaceted nature of wild witches. The resurgence of wild witch archetypes in modern media is not just a revival of old tales, but a reimagining of what these figures represent. They are depicted as agents of change, challenging the status quo and using their powers to address contemporary issues. These witches embody strength and resilience, breaking free from the constraints of past stereotypes. They are portrayed as protectors of the earth, champions of justice, and seekers of personal freedom, reflecting a broader cultural shift towards valuing individuality and authenticity. Historical and mythological wild witches have left an indelible mark on contemporary witchcraft. The ancient stories of these sorceresses have inspired modern practitioners who draw upon the rich tapestry of past beliefs to shape their practices. The essence of the wild witch, her connection to nature, her mastery of magic, and her defiance of societal norms, resonates deeply with those who seek to reclaim and redefine witchcraft in the present day. These historical figures serve as both symbols and sources of inspiration, guiding contemporary witches as they navigate their own spiritual journeys. In feminist and pagan movements, the wild witch has become a symbol of empowerment and self-assertion. Modern feminists and pagans are reclaiming the wild witch's identity, transforming her from a figure of oppression into one of liberation. This reclamation is more than symbolic, it is a powerful statement about agency and identity. Women and other marginalized groups are embracing the wild witch archetype as a way to assert their independence, challenge patriarchal structures, and reconnect with ancient traditions that honor feminine power and wisdom. The witch's journey from demonized outcast to celebrated icon mirrors broader societal changes. As the world grapples with issues of gender, identity, and environmental justice, the Wild Witch stands as a potent symbol of resistance and transformation. Her story, once marred by fear and misunderstanding, is now a testament to the enduring power of reclaiming one's place in the world. Through modern media, contemporary witchcraft, and feminist movements, the Wild Witch has emerged as a beacon of hope and a reminder of the magic that lies within each of us. In the quiet moments of the night, when the world is cloaked in darkness and mystery, the figure of the Wild Witch whispers through the ages. This archetype, with its roots deeply embedded in ancient lore and myth, continues to cast a spell over our collective imagination. The Wild Witch, both feared and revered, embodies a potent blend of mystery and power that has captivated hearts for centuries. From the shadowy depths of folklore to the bright lights of modern media, wild witches have left an indelible mark on our cultural landscape. These untamed sorceresses are more than just characters from old tales. They represent a deep-seated yearning for magic, freedom, and the untamed aspects of the natural world. Their stories are a testament to the human fascination with the supernatural, a bridge between the known and the unknown. The Wild Witch archetype is a symbol of rebellion and empowerment, challenging the constraints of societal norms. In ancient times, these figures were often seen as outcasts or threats, their powers a source of fear and awe. Yet, this very fear is what has made them enduring symbols of strength and independence. Their magic, wild and untamed, reflects the primal forces of nature and the deep, uncharted territories of the human soul. In mythology, wild witches have served as powerful reminders of the thin veil that separates the human world from the supernatural. They are the keepers of ancient knowledge, their spells and rituals a link to the forgotten wisdom of our ancestors. Their ability to command the elements and commune with spirits speaks to a profound connection with the natural world, a connection that modern society often yearns to rediscover. As these ancient tales have woven their way into modern culture, the Wild Witch has evolved. No longer just a figure of fear, she has become a symbol of resilience and empowerment. In literature and film, wild witches are portrayed as fierce heroines and wise mentors, their magic a source of inspiration and strength. They challenge conventional norms, offering a vision of a world where the wild and the mystical are not only embraced but celebrated. The enduring fascination with wild witches speaks to a deep-seated desire for magic in our everyday lives. In a world that often feels disconnected from the natural and the mystical, these figures remind us of the power that lies within the unknown. They represent the possibility of transformation and the freedom to defy expectations, embodying the wild, untamed spirit that resides in each of us. As the night falls and the world returns to its quiet slumber, the legacy of the Wild Witch remains alive in our hearts. Their stories, filled with magic and mystery, continue to inspire and captivate. The Wild Witch is not just a relic of the past, but a living symbol of the power and allure of the untamed. Through the ages, her legacy endures, a reminder of the magic that lies beyond the ordinary and the enchantment that awaits those who dare to seek it.